Welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
And I'm Noah.
And Mickey 17 is a reminder of why I rarely go to the movies anymore.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing Joel Osteen autobiographies these days. That was my opening.
Was that your opening?
That was my ultimate opening. So, Mickey 17 just came out in theaters, and by the time this video goes out, it's probably ended its 2 to 3 week theater run and is sitting in the streaming service somewhere.
Yeah, probably. And even if it's in streaming service, I don't know. I won't say avoid this movie at all costs, but at least know what you're getting into when you go see it.
Yeah, know what you're getting into. This is a brand new Robert Pattinson-led flick based off of a novel that came out in, I believe they said 2020, 2022, something like that.
Okay.
So it's a much more recent novel. And spoilers ahead, as it is a recently released movie that did not get marketed a whole bunch, which is strange that it ended up in our feeds. We both saw this and we're like, oh, that looks kind of interesting.
The only reason I went to this movie, the only reason it fell on my playlist and I said, hey, let's go see this, is that I so thoroughly enjoyed Robert Pattinson in Batman that I wanted to see another one of his movies. And I will say this. If the only reason you go to see this movie is to see Robert Pattinson's performance, go see this movie.
Yeah, you won't be disappointed.
Exactly.
He puts on a fantastic performance in this movie.
Yes.
So, or should I say performances? Spoilers start now.
That's right. Because he plays both Mickey 17 and his...
and 1 through 18.
And Mickey 18, the next variation. I'll explain that in just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I had done my homework... I would have avoided this movie like the plague.
Okay.
I would have said it's not worth going to see it. Blessedly, my ticket was free. So, you know.
There you go.
My ticket was free. Excuse me. I had a discount. And so I ended up seeing the movie and getting a large bucket of popcorn and a soda for $13. You know.
Sounds about right.
I can live with that.
Okay. Okay.
Mickey is an expendable.
Mickey is an expendable.
He's a guy who signs up to join a space expedition to colonize a planet.
Yes.
He is expendable because he has agreed to upload his DNA and his basically his mind to a computer that controls a printer capable of printing a human body that is real in every way.
Now this sounds straight out of a Isaac Asimov era science fiction novel. This sounds that there is a question posed in this film, which led to my great disappointment in the film altogether.
Okay.
That sounds straight like it was out of the last question or the last answer, and it's related to this whole cloning procedure and each of these clones because. As he is expendable, they put him through all basically he's a guinea pig.
Yes.
They frame it as he's sacrificing for the colony. He's sacrificing for the program so that they can, he's doing the dangerous stuff. Like he's doing the dangerous job so that if he were to die, it would be someone who can come back in all technicality. Then later in the film, it's very blatant that no, they were just experimenting on him, testing on him. It's all borderline torture for science's sake. It's like free reign to do whatever we want to this person, and he remembers each individual incarnation. He remembers his time as that version. Mickey 1, Mickey 2, Mickey 3. Mickey 4, all the way up through 17, and then eventually 18. And the plot kicks into gear when Mickey 17 is stranded out on the planet. They finally made it to the planet. He gets stranded out on a mission. He's in a cave. They pretty much leave him to die because they're like, hey, you'll just get reprinted anyway. And he's like, yeah, okay. And he's left to be eaten by the wild animals called creepers that exist on the planet. That don't end up killing him. And they end up printing number 18, which threw me for a loop for a second going, oh, this isn't an automatic process. They have to verify the body is dead. They don't have like an implant or anything that detects. This isn't like one body dies, the next one starts to be printed. They don't do that. So he makes it all the way back somehow. 17 makes it all the way back to the ship, gets back inside, goes to lay down in his bed because he's exhausted, and there's a copy. 18 is in there with him. And immediately the coolest question and the most interesting part of the movie is raised. What do we do now? Because before it was, oh, I'm just the same person being reborn over and over and over again. But now it's made very abundantly clear that these are two separate people. And if one of them dies, well, that's a whole separate person that's died, technically. They're the same person, but they're not. And then it's a question of, like, if 17 were to die, if a 19th was printed, it wouldn't be the same as 17. It also wouldn't be the same as 18. And if 18 died, same thing.
Well, the movie handles this, and I would hope that the novel handled it better than the movie. The movie was very clumsy in handling this because it leads you to believe that the printed body is identical in every way to the previous body, but it's not. But we don't find that out until we get into this whole duplicate process, because Mickey 18 is far more hard-edged.
Yes.
He's got far more ruthless killer instincts than Mickey 17, and it's not until that point in the movie when you hear them refer to earlier versions of Mickey as being whiny, that I believe Nasha was his girlfriend.
Yeah,
was
I believe.
A real good character.
Yeah,
but she did note that different versions of Mickey were more annoying or more likable than others.
Yeah,
the movie fails to address why.
Yeah.
Why is it that in each iteration of Mickey that's printed, is there a stronger, dominant character trait than in others?
Yeah.
Totally and completely
right. Dropped the ball on that.
Well, then it also, this movie raises and fails to answer the question, if you can duplicate a human being, should they be allowed to coexist? Is each copy an autonomous individual?
Yep.
And in the case of Nasha, is it cheating if she has a threesome?
Yeah.
With two Mickeys.
And this is where the first, I say it's about the first third of this movie had me. I was interested. Yes. I was intrigued. Yes. I was like, this is actually kind of interesting. There's some cool concepts. I can't wait to see how these are explored. And then the end of the first first act hits, and we go straight into bullshit.
Well, so Mickey...
We get completely sidetracked with the villain of the entire... The villain of the movie, which is a not so subtle socio-political commentary, and that's about as much as I'll say on that front. That completely derails from all the interesting stuff they set up in the first act. Well, and that's really where that's my big problem with this movie, is that
it's two different movies.
It's two separate movies. Thank you.
So Mickey 17 starts off as a dark comedy. And I have to tell you, you know it's a dark comedy when only half the theater is laughing at some truly laugh-out-loud funny stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And when Mickey is in the cave and he's worried about these creatures that are going to come eat him, and then he finds out they're not eating him, they're saving him, he's complaining. What? I'm not fresh enough meat, right? I don't taste good enough. I'm not.
And it's a great performance. It's great delivery. The lines are funny. He sounds truly frustrated.
And truly, I think he just wants to get the death over with so that he can be reprinted and come back to life. There's just a whole bunch of laugh out loud moments like that, and they end halfway through the movie when you get introduced to a cardboard cutout megalomaniac villain.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie is dealing with this insufferable character.
Yep.
Right?
And there's nothing wrong with an insufferable megalomaniac villain. It's just when you completely derail a very interesting plot, to focus on them as the big bad, it kind of ruins the experience.
Well, it does ruin the experience.
He's the failed politician trying to establish his own world, and when he sees that the world is already inhabited, he goes full. Take your pick. Let's run down the list. General from Avatar, settlers from Pocahontas, soldiers from is it Soldiers and Dances with Wolves? Is that what it is?
Yeah, probably.
Take your pick. It turns into any one of those movies in the second half,
but not well done, and that's the thing that's so disappointing. It starts to explore the relationship between the humans and the life forms that are on the planet.
Yeah,
and what ends up happening is we kill one of their creatures. They want to get revenge. They settle up the terms of finding peace between the two of them. Both sides want peace. You get this whole thing that this idea that these native creatures are actually somehow nobler than humans. Now that storyline has been done over and over again, and it's been done better.
Yes.
And I tell you what, you don't have to go any further than a Star Trek series to find two concepts is a duplicate of one person, an autonomous person who deserves their own life. Second chances, Star Trek Next Generation.
Yep.
The whole idea of a religious society and what you have to follow and what not. Origins, Star Trek the original series.
Yeah.
I mean, but Star Trek did it better.
Yeah.
And it did it better in 40 minutes of TV time, considering, these are...
And this is a long movie, they barely explore half of the concepts they introduce.
Well, that's just it. And when I take a look at what they decided to do at the second half of the movie, this isn't just an actor getting his way. This is an actor and a director and a producer. And when you kind of look at names in there, it's like, okay, I should have expected this.
But I don't know how much of that is just the movie script writers and how much of that and directors and producers and how much of that was in I would be very curious to see how much of that was in the original book.
Yes.
Because you have like I said, you have a great concept. Because in the first third of this movie, what's his name? Marshall, I believe.
The bad guy?
Yeah, the bad guy. I think it's Marshall. So Marshall starts off as a plot device. He essentially starts off the movie as the reason why there can't be two duplicates running around.
Right.
And if the movie had focused on the two duplicates trying to find a way to A, coexist while B, being hunted and having to hide their existence and have it be a whodunit type, one of them's evil, one of them's good, and do they have the same right? And if they had focused on that storyline, this actually could have been a really good movie.
Yes.
But instead, you turn it into, we gotta stop the colonizer. Again, a story that's been done 1,000 times and done 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
In
there's nothing new in
multiple
this movie.
other,
The actors that are in this movie, with the exception of one, gave really good performances.
Yes.
Robert Pattinson just shows his range and his abilities, and he's believable. And, I don't know about you, but my impression of Mickey 17, Mickey wasn't a particularly likable character.
No, he wasn't.
Was kind of annoying. But you were cheering for him.
You were cheering for him because they immediately established that he doesn't, at the beginning, he doesn't care about dying because he's just going to be reprinted. But then when there's a duplicate, he realizes, I'm not going to be reprinted.
Right.
Because this is obviously not me.
Right.
So this version of me will actually die, and it becomes an existential crisis. And it hit for a second.
It did.
It's that's so freaky to think about.
And so dive into it and play with it. Instead, you get this gimmick where everybody is walking up to him and saying, what does it like to die?
Yeah.
What is it like to die?
Yeah, which could have had so much more meaning. And it's ironic. We were talking about this yesterday, how we should probably do Invincible. Yeah. Invincible does the clone topic better, in my opinion. There's a whole
clone line in it.
Well, I won't spoil it for you, but there's a whole it's not explored to this level, but there's always these ethical questions in stories,
sure.
Or how do you handle it, or what happens? If you were to clone yourself and the clone knew it was a clone. Right? Like, that brings up a whole slew of possibilities, and Invincible does explore that at some level.
Okay.
Like, comment, subscribe if you want to see an Invincible breakdown or an Invincible series on this channel. But this movie is just disappointing.
You fit that in so smoothly.
I know.
I never think to do that. I just don't. It might be a generational thing.
I don't know. I guess I was just disappointed in this movie's decisions. The decisions made in this movie.
Yeah. There's a lot to be disappointed in. I will tell you this. Well, do you know that last fall a Reagan biopic came out? Mm-hmm. Did you see it?
No.
It was Randy Quaid.
Okay.
Right. And Quaid does a fairly credible impersonation of Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
But when you do a whole movie based on your ability to impersonate someone, let's just say that it never felt natural.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. And so
I can see that.
when you do an impersonation of someone, you pick one or two, maybe three character traits and you repeat them over and over again.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to believe that that the real life person spoke that way in every situation, every time, you know.
Yeah.
And so you get the Reagan head tilt and, well, Nancy, Nancy, we're going to do it tonight. I mean, he just didn't talk to his wife that way, you know. I mean, you're right. You know, so I mean, you can pick these character traits and do that. So while the movie was very kind and it avoided legitimate criticisms of the Reagan administration, I didn't mind the way they approached telling his life story in a condensed format. But I didn't like the impersonation. I think I think the character would have been, the performance rather, would have been more believable if maybe he just laid off the impersonation.
There's a reason why every version of Churchill is so unique. Some of them are hardcore impersonating the caricature of Winston Churchill, and some of them aren't. And it was a really funny. It was it's Jim Cummings. He's the modern voice of Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, and he's done so much. And he was saying on the topic of voice acting, he says, if you can do a spot-on impersonation of someone, you'll have work for the rest of your life. If you can do a bad impersonation of someone, congratulations, you just created a whole new character. If you can learn to do that for 5 different people, you have a career.
Gotcha.
It's essentially what he got into. And it's like, I think of that when I see that sort of thing, or I'm just like, that makes sense.
Well, so
that's what I was thinking of when you were describing that.
Yeah, so I went down that rabbit hole for this reason. And bear with me on this one, because I am not going to violate any behind-the-scenes rules that we have agreed on.
Okay.
Actors owe their audience the best possible performance that they can deliver.
Okay.
And anything less is cheating the audience. It's cheating us. One performance in Mickey 17 was based on an impersonation of a real-life person. It was poorly done.
Yep.
It was completely unnecessary. And it continually broke the fourth wall. It reminds you that you're watching a movie.
Yep.
So, I will say this. If I want to watch a smug, self-righteous man fondle himself on screen for 90 minutes, I'll subscribe to masturbation videos on
That's funny.
Thank you. I worked hard on that one. I made sure that I got the wording just right on that.
Yep, I just feel like they wasted so much potential that this whole concept could have had.
Yes.
In this whole thing, and they traded it for something that was cheap, easy, and they didn't even do it well. That's the other thing. They didn't even do it well.
That wasn't even picking low-hanging fruit. That was picking up the overripe stuff that fell on the ground.
Yeah, this stuff's already decomposing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Exactly.
Oh yeah, we have never seen this in all of cinema history. Anyway, Mickey 17.
If you like Robert Pattinson and you want to see a good Robert Pattinson performance,
because he truly did do a fantastic job in this movie. It's completely different. He's got so much range. I've seen clips of him in The Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen clips of, obviously we've seen the Batman, and we're really excited for the Batman 2. And now this, I mean, it's a completely different character in each one, and I forget that I'm watching Robert Pattinson when I'm watching him perform.
It's so interesting you should say that, because I have said before that there are some actors that get so big that you stop maintaining the ability to buy into the character that they're delivering.
Yeah.
And so probably the biggest one that I struggle with is Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Except that I see all the clips of his performance of Sully in the airplane crash movie.
Yeah.
I get lost in his performance.
Yeah.
I really truly do.
You know the one that always F's with my head, because it's very, like, visually it's like very obviously the same person that I'm but it's like the performances are so different, and so it's Christoph Waltz. Between Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained.
Yes.
Whoa. So good. It's just so good.
Have you seen the clip of the awards show where Steve Martin looks out at the audience and says, Christoph Waltz, in Inglourious Bastards, you played a character hunting Jews, and then he goes to the audience like...
He got away with it?
And the place just goes up. In
he got away with that?
Steve Martin, of course he got away with it. I don't know that anybody was laughing harder than Christoph Waltz. It was fantastic.
Whoa!
You can find that on Instagram, I think is where I saw it. It was
wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you've seen Mickey 17, what do you think? Are we right? Are we wrong? Agree, disagree? And if you haven't, go see it and then come back and let us know what you think.
Yeah. Although based off its box office numbers, apparently it's not doing well. Probably because I hear it's because of the marketing was under push. Because there's a lot of people saying, I didn't even know this came out, which is usually a good indicator that it was poorly marketed. If people are commenting on the official posts going, wait, this came out already?
It could also mean that the studio really didn't think it was worth pumping a lot of money into.
That also could be the case.
And I could see that. Yeah.
But let us know your thoughts and more in the comment section down below.
Thanks for tuning in for this episode of Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
And we'll see you next time.